Okay. Lovely to see you, Annalisa, again. We've been discussing many things, and we're now at the point of realizing the Holy Grail of creativity and life exists through our sense of language in community. How we have a small structure of people that really are inspiring and have very strong values of kindness and compassion, but also have developed in a way that brings a trusted understanding of living and life. So what I wanted to do in this discussion is look at how we relate to that. Where are we with that? And we formed our relationship in 1995 at the Hochschule der Kunst in Berlin. The Berlin Wall had just come down. We were on an Erasmus program. We formed great friendships. We had the most amazing time in those 3 months that we were there. And we formed a community. And then we built that. You and I especially built into it in Italy, in Northern Italy, and in the UK, in west of London. And we carried on to build by sharing our values, sharing our pains, did a lot of that, and finding our genesis, which means the bit in us that we found value. So I'm really wanting us to turn the discussion to the sort of inner Holy Grail of who you've become through our community, I guess. I value the way that you really have an understanding of semiotics and language in connecting to people. You can reach out when you don't get too overwhelmed by the hundreds and thousands of people that you have to teach and work with and inspire yourself. And when we have these magical moments, they are so magical and profound, and we look for the magic in life. We find these incredible moments to share, and I think we should discuss it a bit. What makes our relationship so magical?
Yeah,
our community,
so
our creativity.
I totally agree, but that is the $1 million question. But I think that is so great what you said. I thank you so much for what you said, because you really mirrored kind of my mind at the moment, and it's so special to meet you all of the time. And it where we are through Zoom, but to me I'm there, and so special because since I started learning languages, but I think since I was born, I felt, but most of all, after the first journeys I did abroad, I felt the magic of languages, you know, Amanda, and the magic of distance, the magic of relationship.
Well, you've got a particular skill of seeing the philosophy of language. I mean, not just a skill, you've learned it, you spent a lot of time with it. And you see how it informs culture, how it informs relationships, how
it's a fluid. It's not grammar rules, you know.
Yeah, it's a philosophical understanding. It's much more than language.
Absolutely, after grammar, language, and everything. Because what I felt the first time I went to Germany, and I didn't know you yet, but it was that I was getting into contact with people with whom I wouldn't have had the opportunity to have a contact, an everyday contact. And to me, it was so painful, because I said, so I'm losing the relationship, because, you know, after 1 month in Bamberg, in Germany, and then splitting up, and then not having the opportunity. I was 16, you know. And
I mean, I'm going to talk about you being 60. Were you really 16?
16. I was 15 the first
when
time
you first went to Germany, not when we were
no, when I was there. And so I felt the first gap in relationship, because I said, okay, I met these special people, and well, probably I'm losing the relationship, but through letters and letters and letters, I haven't lost the relationship. I have my French sister Florence. She's going to be my French sister forever, because we are so connected. So even though we don't hear each other after 2 years, it's like the day after, the day before. And with you, it was exactly the same. When we met in Berlin, it was a special connection.
I think both you and I have had the experience of letter writing given to us as an inherited experience. And I think that does help, because I think one of my coping strategies with lockdown was to start writing letters again and start re-looking at connecting. And from that place, I mean, I got my quill out, you know, with my and I, you know, my ink, as you saw in my piece, and I started literally writing inked,
that's so important. That's so
scripted
important.
letters.
That's so important. And at the same time, I found you such a, you know, the Erasmus was great. All these dinner party, you know, these familiar moments.
But I mean, you say dinner parties, which in English is quite glamorous. We were in often the bullet-driven houses of the east of Berlin, and we were sitting on the floor without any furniture, and we were up all night. We went to these petrol stations that had beer, and we bought it, and we had croissant in the morning at 5 or 6 a.m. because we'd been up all night. There was no like drugs. We were completely fed through each other. Our inspiration came through each other. That kept us awake. There was, and we weren't over drinking at all. We were just enjoying the moment.
And that to me, it was what Konrad Lorenz called imprinting, you know?
Yeah.
That he is in front of the eggs coming out, and the ducks follows him forever. Because they were imprinted by something they felt so important. Absolutely. And so for me, it was my imprinting. I want this thing.
And I think there was something really special. Like I was 21 at the time. I think I hadn't reached my 21st birthday. I think I was still 20. And it was my first, you know, 3-month trip away where I was properly living abroad. And so we were in an impressionable state, as you say, imprinting, and we were able to, you know, to allow this. What was for me amazing was this complete acceptance of each other in our complications. We didn't judge each other. We just enjoyed each other.
And not only acceptance, really the fascination of each other.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I remember you were quite innocent. You'd been brought up in a Catholic way. You'd been to a convent school.
You know,
school. And
I remember
really the English people, they were completely corrupting your mind.
No. I had already been corrupted.
Not literally. We were having fun with it. We were like really having fun. But I mean, at the same time, you know, and then Anya was there, and she was at Central St. Martin's, but she was from Berlin. And we had this great kind of community developing where we could cross from one side of understanding to the next.
Let's not say our plastic pipes or something, you know, you remember with the film thing.
Yeah, I do. I'm not going to mention that too much, but yeah, we were creative in our biros and in the black cassettes from film cameras and how they yeah, I've just realized something. But anyway.
And I remember also, Lorraine, when we used to sleep over at I don't know, Raphael or something, that she said, I'm very tired. And so now I put on my headphones with some techno because I want to fall asleep. You are tired, so you're putting the techno music to get relaxed, just to give you the measure of how tired we were.
And then Kathy, I remember her borrowing clothes from her person. It was so funny.
No, it was great. It was great. It was everything and the contrary of everything. And so to me, it was so important because it was, if you remember, Amanda, it was high culture, low culture, middle culture. So on one day we were with Christo wrapping the Reichstag, you know?
Exactly. And then I had Vivienne Westwood on my studio above me. And then Rebecca Horn was like down the street. And we had all these amazing artists like on our doorstep that we could engage with and talk to.
Jean came to my studio the Monday of Easter Monday. Jean Dine came around and that's an appointment with me and the other one. So it was amazing. And Liebeskind was there in the architecture department. But at the same time, we appreciated everything because we were naive, but at the same time conscious of the opportunity we had. But at the same time, we were conscious of how special it was the moment. And we took the moment. We enjoyed the moment. I remember your clothes, Amanda. I remember your hairstyle. I remember every single detail. Yeah, because I was processing. I was processing.
You and everyone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also the Heinz beans you brought up because there was Heinz beans evening. And
well, we had this man that took us to the different they decided we needed to understand the culture of Germany. And for some reason, I think we were probably expecting to go to galleries, but he took us to churchyards. And he had this stack of beer in the back of the bus, and we could buy for very little money these little cans of beer, and he would always give us 20 minutes to go into this church and in the yard, and actually we'd just go and have a beer in the yard. And then we were like, okay, is this the art we're meant to be looking at? And then we went to Nuremberg, which was, you know, all about the Second World War, and we went to Nuremberg, and we were like, is this really the art we're meant to be looking at? And we'd seen the concentration camp, we'd seen where Hitler had given his demonstrations, we'd been to no matter how many churches that also there was beer made by the monasteries in the background. And often in the churches there would be like these weird sculptures where the heads were cut off of the monks and the blood was like in a sculptural way like spurting out of the neck.
That's what art history.
It wasn't even, and this was our art history of art lesson. So funny and weird.
That was amazing. But that was such a unique, you know, that it makes so sense.
This is impression. This is such an impression. I mean, I didn't talk for 2 days after I went to the concentration camp. I remember being totally shocked especially after seeing, say, the tattoos on the skin at the age of 20 stacked up in the like cabinet or whatever. And you have to, we all though were from a very protected environment in some ways. We had Spain that had the Franco regime, but most of us had a pretty straightforward life, and you know, didn't have
absolutely. But most of all, I think that if you think about Melissa or Bon Bon Boy, Simon, so me, you, Anya, Raphael, me and you first of all, then but Anya as well. Raphael, we are still into contact with the art world and everything. But even Melissa, she worked with the BBC, and Simon, she's working on websites, and
Kathy,
everyone was very focused, very focused. They did so well afterwards. And we are still into contact somehow. We didn't lose each other. So we really built something. And to me,
I think, sorry.
Yeah, there's very often people don't trust relationship. They give up. They give up. They say, well, it's so difficult, you know, it's so far. It's impossible. If you're not near, if you want it, you can. And this is a terrible motto because everyone has used that. But if you really want something, you transform something superficial into substance, and that's my point.
Yeah, that's the element that one has to value to have a foundation of community. To create substance out of meaningful connections that could be temporary, but you can bring some permanence to if you value them enough, and you can work at them. I mean, we've had our moments, but I think we got to a point with the 2008 economic crash where we really came together in 2012-13, because that's when it was really obviously in our community. And then we decided, okay, we're in a position now where we've got enough life experience and art experience to really hold on to this and to nurture it and to involve each other and our lives in a way that brings some direction to it. And we were able to come together in that way and find avenues and directions for growth and development, weren't we?
Yeah, and this is also one of the reasons why, if I should read my artwork, you know, I started with installation. Then, as you remember, in Berlin, I started with participatory artwork, giving the doll to anyone, even though I didn't know what participatory artwork was, because Gillian was doing it. It was like a need. It was
like the beginning of the selfie, in fact. You know, you were there in 95 creating this.
It's true. Somehow it was a need, because I felt the wonder of walking around. And I have the most wonderful studio in my life in Berlin, and I didn't use it because I preferred the street, you know. And I had the studio with Kathy. We had the studio, you can rollerblade inside, as big as it was, but I felt the need to go out. And then I started with this participatory work. Then I did the performance in the balloon where I feel right somehow. I had to felt the bubble. I to feel that feeling inside a bubble or doing a performance inside a balloon was like creating the measure of relationship, that your body is bigger than your body itself. And so the relationship is not always so easy. So this is a little bit the process of my work. Then little by little, as you said, 2011, 2013 and go on, I felt the need of creating a process for communities. But creating communities as a form of happening now, everybody does that. In creative fields or in advertising or flash mobs and everything. What I need at the moment is what we were talking before, to concentrate on reconstructing communities that are really grounding something, focusing on something, and
so they have a bit more direction,
you know. And so also creating a new concept of public, of audience, of education, of inspiration.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. I mean, I think that we had our time in creating spaces with community in them, and it's almost like lockdown has asked us to look at, well, what is the content of that? Let's shine a light on that, because that's actually what's more important. That's the Holy Grail of that. It's the meaning, it's the language, it's the inspiration that each other brings to that. And actually what we're looking to achieve is more beyond the housing of it, and more about the open offering that we're actually wanting to give the Holy Grail as a cup to share and to create union from a perspective of understanding the values of meaningful connection.
Yeah, and you know what, I also, now talking with you, I'm understanding more this time of the year, as I had these online lessons, and my online lessons are connected with performance, because my lessons are performances. One of these days you have to enter.
I have entered many of your lessons, and they are very beautifully curated and performed very well.
No, but the thing was to understand the small steps. So what really inspired me to go to the 5th century before Christ.
Yes.
When the sophist Caracciatizia, one day or 2 or 3 months after the dictators said, okay, we don't have enough money to pay the soldier, so we are going to take away your land to the agriculture, to countrymen. And they didn't have law, they didn't have the code of law, because it didn't exist. Rhetoric had not been invented yet. And so Caracciatizia, they invented rhetoric. And sometimes, rhetoric is also a negative word. Don't be rhetorical. But if you go to the substance of the word, what is rhetoric? It's the art of persuasion, which is not that beautiful. It's the art of judgment, which is not that beautiful. But anytime we speak, we judge, not in terms of judgment of trial. I judge. I like to drink my Prosecco because I prefer Prosecco than red wine. So this is already a judgment. In these terms,
isn't it? It's a choice.
It's a choice. Every time you choose, you judge somehow life. And so to me, rediscovering language, Amanda, was really rediscovering this first step, in which Caracciatizia, they said, well, language is not.
Well, I think though judgment comes a bit from the ego, and choice comes a bit from the heart. It's like you resonate with Prosecco instead of red wine. It's not a literal judgment, because judgment's very ego based and very from the head, whereas you can resonate with something on a heart level and feel connected to it without a need to go into full judgment.
Yeah, you're right. But what I want to say is that rediscovering the consciousness of things, okay? Let's rediscover, when did we feel, as we are doing now, when did we feel relations? What made it happen? What make it happen when we were in Berlin? It was tortillas, it was Heinz beans, it was trusting and wanting and evaluating. So feeling in that moment a meta language, a meta relationship. We, without, not so consciously, but somehow also
Yeah.
consciously we realized we wanted to be there. And we kept on tell each other that for 20 years, 25 years.
Yeah.
We want to be
affirming it. And out of that, some beautiful things have come through those relationships and extended through those relationships. And where we do really get to express our creative thoughts and our values and our sense of well-being within it, you know, like what makes us thrive.
Well-being, that's important.
It's the thriving of the creative, like what makes us thrive, what makes us be able to feed, because at the end of the day, it's our creativity that we feed off each other with. We are inspired by it, and we're inspired by each other, and that gives us a kind of a commitment.
Yeah.
And it enables us to want commitment and stay committed, and to deal with the complications of life as they present, and help each other find new ways forward, and spend time, invest energy into those new ways, so that this sense of solution comes through the question, but also it's the answer is, you know, it all leads to in a direction. And I think what we're beginning to sort of see is it's the inner workings that are important to us now.
Yeah. And this is something that any money can buy.
No, you know? It's true. That's the Holy Grail that we appreciate.
Exactly. So not because we want to deny money or to deny wealth, but we have also to rediscover something that any money can buy.
Well, I think there is a wealth in that understanding. I think that, I mean, not recently, but over the last few years, people have said that's a very enriched way of living. That's a very wealthy experience. And they're not talking about money, they're talking about the experience of living. Yeah. And I think it's recognizing what creates a wealthy experience of living.
Exactly.
Where you feel nourished, you feel whole, you feel respected and trusted, and there's understanding there, but there's also inspiration in relationships.
And a human being.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you're human, you're vulnerable, you have fear, you have pain, you have worries, you have concerns. There's economic crisis around, and how do we deal with that kind of thing?
But this is why we are so special.
Yeah.
Because we are human beings, so we have to rediscover humanity in this way.
Exactly.
Not because we are superhero. I don't want to be a superhero, you
know. No. It's
but
great.
At the same time, I want to be a human. I want to be human. So since just to conclude with, I like music. I like rock. I like some bands. And somehow I was thinking about Rolling Stones or Blur or about Oasis, and I was talking to myself, these people, how could they cope with thousands and thousands of people that wanting them at the top of their not human being, because they were superheroes. So on one hand, I keep on appreciating and estimating that. But I was asking myself, me as an artist, would I like to have this responsibility? I tell you, Amanda, no, I want something else. So keeping on. So I don't want to be a rock star, you know. I like the rock star, but I want to be a star, not a rock star.
Mm-hmm. You need visibility and you need light.
Yeah. So this is
and
what?
This is the same with, you know, this is where we're at. We're at a place now where we need more understanding around why there's resistance about, you know, like taking the Holy Grail, like drinking from it. Maybe it's a resistance to happiness. Maybe it's because not everyone sees the enrichment. But I think that in this moment, people are searching for that understanding, and they're wanting to taste more, wanting to dip their feet in and like bathe in that kind of nourishing energy. But thank you, Annalisa. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
It's a lovely vision to work with for now. And I'm loving how the starlight energy is all around you like a halo.
That's beautiful.
It's a beautiful symbol.